Namaste to all. Why we must always study books written by Rishi Munis, or why we must always listen to the Rishi Munis. I was reading to one verse from Nirukta 13 by 12. Maharishi Dayananda Saraswati has beautifully explained this verse of Nirukta. Nirukta was a book written by Yask Muni, in which he explains a very, very important point. Tat prakriti tarad vartana samanya adityayam mantrartha chinta byuho abhyudo api shrutito api tarkato natu pritaktavena mantra nirvaktavyaha prakaranascha yevatu nirvaktavya nahayeshu pratyaksham satyam risherata tapasova. One has a curiosity to know the meaning of mantras, which appear as collections of inflected and conjugated terms, words and letters related to one another as adjectives and substantives in a general way. One should, however, ask one's own intellect such questions as, what can be the meaning of this mantra? One should exercise one's intellect and reasoning for completely understanding the meaning of mantras. So this is the first step. Before we understand the mantra, we should also try to analyze based on our learnings from Acharya only. Of course, knowledge is always gained only if it is given from an Acharya. So after we listen Vedas from Acharya, we can try to understand the meaning of mantras. That what could be the meaning of this mantra? This kind of reasoning we should do. However, the Rishi says here, Paro varya vittasu thu kalu veditrushu bhuyo vidyaha prashassayo bhavati yuktam purastat manushya va rishi shutamattasu devan bhruvan kona rishir bhavishyati iti. The mantras cannot be interpreted in an offhand manner on hearing them alone or with the help of reasoning alone. They ought to be explained with due regards to their context. That is, with reference to what precedes as well as with reference to what follows. But a man who is not a rishi, who is not a tapasvi, who has not performed austerities, whose mind is not pure and who does not possess learning cannot realize the meaning of the mantras. This is the fundamental knowledge of Vedas. This is the driving force that we have to understand. Why we should not read books written by Max Muller or Griffith or Sayanacharya, even Shankara Bhashya, because Shankara Bhashya, you have to understand, is not written by Shankaracharya, because Shankaracharya was a great philosopher of Vedas, whereas when we read Shankara Bhashya, we find so many errors in the translation. And lastly, Rishi says, Tebhya yetam tarkam rishim prayachan mantrartha chinta vyuham abhya yudam tasmadya deva kim chanu abhyuhatyarsha tad bhavati. Unless a man is fully acquainted with the context of the mantras, has the necessary qualification for realizing their sense, and is a man of highest erudition, he is not in a position to grasp the true meaning of the Veda mantra, howsoever good he may be in reasoning and Sanskrit. This demonstrates that when a thoroughly learned man who explains the meaning of Vedas, his explanation becomes the explanation of a rishi and an exposition of the Vedas. But when a man of mediocre learning and intellect who is partial, who is biased, who does not have tapasya, attempts to explain the Vedas, his explanation cannot be those of a rishi and are totally false. They are not worthy of any consideration by anyone, for they are full of perverted ideas, and other men's ideas would be perverted by paying regards to them. So when we read books written by these people, our mind will turn against Almighty God, because these books attempt to prove that Vedas are not from God. These books attempt to prove that Vedas have scientific errors, etc., etc. However, when we understand Vedas from an Acharya of Vedas, who is a tapasvi, who has realized Vedas in Samadhi, we will clearly understand Vedas are immortal like Almighty God. Vedas are from Almighty God. Vedas are given by Almighty God for the benefit of human beings. Vedas are given by Almighty God for the purpose of realizing Almighty God. Vedas contain all the scientific knowledge of this universe. This kind of knowledge we can get only when we listen from an Acharya of Vedas. That's why I always say, do not read a book written by human beings, especially in the subject of Vedas and spirituality. Always read books written by Maharishis and Rishi Munis who has attained Samadhi, who has realized Ved mantras, who has done darshan of Ved mantras in Samadhi. Mantra drishta iti rishihi. Drishta means one who sees the Ved mantras in Samadhi. That is what Nirukta says in 13/12 also. So we should always follow the Vedic fundamentals. I always recommend only 2 books. One is a book written by my Acharya ji, Swami Ram Swarup Yogacharya. Other one is a book written by Maharishi Dhanand Saraswati. Otherwise, if we are reading any other book written by anybody else, we have to be careful because there would be errors. Because a person who is not a Rishi is bound to commit errors even if he is a Sanskrit scholar. This has to be clearly understood. Thank you so much. Namaste. Om.